we're just going to wait for a few to come in before we start the meeting. Just give me a couple of minutes. I'm just letting people into the meeting and working out some admin stuff as we go. Excellent. Okay, sorry everyone, I'm just letting people in. I've had a little bit of a mess up with the admin, that's my fault. when I set the meeting up, I'm new to using Zoom, so I'm still learning how to use it. So I'm still letting people in, and see Wayne's just joining us, so I'll bring him in and let him take the floor. Actually, Karen, would you like to open the meeting?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meet the QMS Team and question and answer session held here tonight on the 14th of August. QMS is a new way forward of everyone together using the content management system as in a people-led, policy-driven future, minus the politics and the politicians. Now, Graham, are you ready to start?
Sorry, just still letting people in, but getting there. It's going, there's a lot coming in, so my apologies, everyone. I'm new to running Zoom meetings, and normally we run them off Karen's account, and today I've ended up setting it up, so it's a little bit different to how we'd usually run it. So we're here to talk about the QMS. Graham Jeffs is in the room. Are you there, Graham?
I am.
You are, you can talk.
I've got no internet, so I'm on the phone.
Oh, do you want to do a little bit of a discussion about what we're doing? I'll just continue letting people in here for the minute.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, keep it going.
Okay, so for those who don't know or have been wondering what the QMS is, it stands for Quantum Management System, and it's a platform that we intend to build that will give security and I suppose an opportunity to cut out corruption, as a platform to build all the best systems that we can possibly build for Australia and Australians on top of it. So the way we see it working is that it's built in quantum management, also in blockchain, which means it is an encrypted system that allows us to give everyone a unique identity, which only they can access. So it's not a list. It's not a what do you call it? It's not a role or anything like that. It's actually a sovereign key. So that means that key can only be used by that person. And if it's in a voting situation where they need to vote or want to vote on something, say like a referendum, they'll be able to vote, but only once. They can only use their key once. So we believe it's going to cut out all of the duplication, all of the shonky, voting systems around the world are all manipulated because they have backdoor keys. This will have no backdoor key. Now, it being built in the quantum management, Graham Turner can explain a little bit more about that because it's a bit above my pay grade. But the way that we want this to work is purely and simply to get the people the confidence that they need to participate. So imagine at the moment, we have a two-party preferred system, which basically was invented by the parties back in 1908, so that they knew that they could guarantee themselves a left-wing or a right-wing government forever. Now, we say, well, obviously that's not democracy. So what we want to do is we want to give everyone the opportunity to participate and want to participate in a system of the people, for the people, by the people. And that basically means that we're going to recreate the whole system of voting and, I suppose, accountability, and then build the best possible, what could we call it, governance, not government, governance, economic and societal systems on top of the QMS. So they'll be all encrypted and also sovereign, if you like, and we're going to use the Commonwealth of Australia because we're a very rich nation. You wouldn't think so, the way that the politicians carry on about debt and all this sort of crap. But we know that if we take back our Commonwealth from the people who have usurped it or done shonky backroom deals or whatever, we have enough wealth in this Commonwealth and going into the future to get rid of homelessness, to get rid of people killing themselves because they're they can't afford to pay their bills or all these sort of things can be taken care of. We can have the best systems in the world, gold standard, if you like. And we also know moving forward that we're going to have to do something in the digital space, which is a currency, but not a currency as you know it, a currency of the people. If you like, we go back to the old days and call it a coin of the realm, where the people and the commonwealth of the nation is the currency. So a coin of the realm, if you like. So that basically is in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a lot of technical things we need to do. There's a lot of planning we need to do. Obviously, we need the people. We need 8.6 million people, and everyone thinks that that's enough. But we had a conversation today with Tim Dwyer, who said we work on the rule of 5. We get 5 people, and then we tell those 5 people to bring 5 other people, and they bring 5 other people, and before you know it, we've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people supporting the QMS. Now, I've got to point out one thing that's very important. The QMS at this stage is a proposal. It's not a prospectus. It's not a done deal. It's got to be designed of the people, for the people, by the people, and that's you. So that's why we want as many people as we can to look at the proposal authored by Graham Turner. It's a brilliant proposal. It's supported by myself, Tim Dwyer, Matt Lawson, Wayne Glue, Dave O'Neiggs, Jamie McIntyre, Jackie Dundee, just to name a few, Peter Little. There's lots and lots of people that see it as the best platform we can rebuild our nation on. So we need you now. We need the people of Australia to realise that the two-party system just doesn't work. What's happening at the moment is, it's almost genocide, because they are telling us what we're going to do. They are conscripting us into their medical situation by telling us that we have to do this, this, and this. Otherwise, we may not have a job. We may not be able to move out of our own homes. We may not be able to do anything without this this so-called vaccine passport. It's unconstitutional. Wayne will talk more about that in a little bit further into the meeting, but that's it in a nutshell. And I hope you stick around, and I hope you ask your questions. And I hope if you've got questions that don't get answered tonight, that you'll come back next week. We're running another one next week at the same time, and ask these questions. We'll give you information so that you can contact us offline, off the meetings, so that if you've got other questions you want to talk to us, we'll engage with you, no problems, because we need to get this done, and we need to get it done now.
Okay, thanks, Graham. So the QMS, it's a tool for voting on policy rather than people. That's just in the simplest terms. We've created a website. It is at theqms.org. You'll have to excuse me too, because I'm going to be letting people in as we go, since I'm apparently adminning and hosting the meeting at the same time. So I'm sort of multitasking and juggling a little bit here, so I do apologise. It will be, as Graham says, based in a blockchain. We also have plans. We'd like to host it within a simulated quantum environment. When I say a simulated quantum environment, that's not a quantum computer as such. It's a simulated environment, which makes the system completely unhackable. Now, basically, the concept is that the people have the right in this country. So the country should operate, as Graham said, on the will of the people, not on the will of a few. It's not about money. We haven't asked for money. We're not planning to ask for money within the QMS. That's not what it's about. It's been given to me in essentially, I guess you'd say, downloads over the last 30 odd years. It became evident last year that it was the time that it needed to be brought forth. And by the beginning of this year, I'd written the document, managed to get some support. And then people like Graham and Wayne and Jackie Dundee, Penny, Karen, Tim Dwyer, some amazing people have come on board to help me fill it out and flesh it out, turn it into something worthwhile. To be told that you've created something that fits within the Constitution by someone like Wayne and Graham independently, had no idea that that's what I was creating, but by some stroke of luck, that's the way it's landed. So we have it. It is of the people and for the people. So we need you guys to help us build it. We can't build it alone. We don't want it just to be our system. We want it to be the Australian system of managing the country. And in order to do that, we need people to engage with us. We need people to be part of it, to help us develop it. And it's not just the government or systems of governance that need replacing. We see that you need to replace the education system, the healthcare system. Practically every system that the government's had its hand in is now corrupt and time to go. This system can be used to redesign the policies for all of the above. It puts the people back in charge. So we're not going to lose anything by doing it. There's still going to be all of the public services that are available. You'd still have a police department. You'd still have a fire brigade, an ambulance service, etc., etc. All of those things, though, now would be managed directly by the people. So yes, of course, they'll have people, department heads in charge of them, but rather than responding to legislature that's come in via the government, they'll be responding to legislature that we, the people, have put in place. Now, the software is built and it is ready to go. We just need the people. And when we get enough people on board and we can declare this the system of preference, it's a pretty easy. If the country operates on the will of the people, we have it. Wayne and Graham handle the legals of that side of things, along with some other people, Tim. As I say, there's a lot of people working on this. This isn't just, and this, nobody's made money, nobody's asking for money. We're all doing it because we want to free ourselves and our country. We want our children to have a free society to grow up in. I'd like to pass on to Wayne now, if Wayne would mind having a bit of a chat about how he came across it and what your feelings are, just so that we can get the standpoint. We want everyone to understand that it's legal and a peaceful option and a way that we can actually move forward.
Yeah, we can move forward under the Constitution because what you're saying, the voting system is essential to encrypt it so it can't be interfered with. What I did over the last quite a few years, in 1999, everyone knows we had a referendum. We said no to a republic. That reinstated into every state the original constitution of the state. And I'll keep this as quick as I can because it needs to expand into how this country runs. We want to have the influence over every person who sits in our parliament. We can't remove the parliament without removing the constitution. And if you try that, we run the risk of the people just jacking up and saying, no, you're not going to do it. You know, it's a nice new system, but I thought about nothing else for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So we need to retain a politician, but the way the Constitution says they're employed, they only sit in Parliament when they're called to debate and pass legislation according to our Constitution and the will of the people who put them there. Now, as Graham said, he would like to get the system where we tell the politician what they're going to do. The system's there, it's not being used, and I agree with the Times when they removed it all. We need to put it back and say, no, you're there to represent us. I don't care what's in your head and how you think. We need you as a person, a human, a man or a woman, to stand up and say, the people have decided this, I'm voting for this in the Parliament. They don't agree, so goodbye, take that out. This is how the people run the country, how it was meant to be under the Constitution. The governors of the states must select the people that are going to stand for Parliament. And those people, once selected, represent the particular areas. Every politician that goes into Parliament is required to find out the will of the people in his constituency. That's not happening. We all know that. They're just doing what they want whenever they want. And I'm the biggest mouth from the South when it comes to letting them have a mouthful because they're all wrong. And I'll keep telling them they're wrong. That's why I filed the way I have into the House of Lords after I seized everything. Because now this country is being held for and on behalf of the people under the Crown in a state of adverse possession. They can't remove it, not without going to England and filing in the High Court of England or with the House of Lords to overturn what I've done. They can't do it. I put enough in there to block them in there, And they got angry with me and they said, "Boo-hoo, get over yourself, couldn't care less." I've been blocked off their sites for commenting on their stupidity, but I still go on public and let them have it anyway. But at the end of the day, we have this country in the power of the people. We need to do, as Graham said, we need to now say at the next state election, turn up there and say, all you proposed representatives, get out. Put somebody out of the political parties in there. To do that, we have to have a majority, and I believe it's not 50%, it's 65%, an absolute majority, just like in Section 128, where the Parliament has to be. We're taking the place of the Parliament as the people, because it's whereas the people, not whereas the donkeys or politicians, whichever way you like to address them. But at the end of the day, we, the people, get to decide how we are going to be governed. And this is why I come on board, to see how it fits in with what I'm doing, because I can't walk away from what I'm doing. I have too much sitting there against the government. I want them all to stand trial for treason, and eventually they will. But we've been getting at the police, we've been getting at lots of different groups of people and getting some attention. I gave Carol the name of a lady in the northwest of Western Australia who confirmed everything I said about the genocide there amongst the Aboriginal people. And I get that. We can't wait until the next election. We need to push this. That's why both Graham's idea of getting enough people, but we need more than 8 million people. And how I said about starting it is to put out the oath, because as soon as they swear that oath, they go back outside of the Green Constitution. They dump all the political party nonsense, and the people go straight as back to subjects of the Queen, instead of being a ship floating on the Sea of Commerce under the crap laws they passed in 1973, and there's huge amounts. But even the Immigration Act, they backdated all the modifications to decide we're all citizens, and when we play up, we're sovereign citizens. Well, that's an oxymoron. A citizen is under the control of somebody. The sovereign person is free and total control of their own life, as long as what they do doesn't interfere with anyone else's life. It's called a moral compass, which politicians seem to lack. And they're brain dead fools the way they act. Look, everything Graham Turner and Graham Jeffs is saying in relation, we need to change the system, but we need to stay locked into our constitution at this time. You want to remove it? Are my speakers on? Yep. They should be. Can you hear?
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't referring. We had a question come in on the chat, Wayne, so I was just replying to that. Yeah.
Yeah, go to your setting. I got all that one. Yeah, look, it's not going to be an easy job. We need, if you read the first 2 chapters of the Constitution, and especially section 6 through 23, it lays out exactly how the voting system must be done. It must be done state by state. The reason for that is we have a collective of people from each state voted by the people of that state to appear in Parliament and vote for us. However, they can't put the legislation together. Section 62 to 68 states the Governor General in Council does at federal level. The state constitution, original ones, which no state's using, but they're there now since 1999, they basically lay out the same system of voting, and it must be that way. And once voted in, the first thing they do before they take their position, both under Section 42 of the Constitution and under the state constitutions and the letters patent for the office of governor, they must swear the oath prior to taking that, which means they're bound to as subjects of the Queen. So, and an issue came up with Carol earlier in relation to her position in this country, being that she came here on a parent's visa. She came here as an immigrant from England, not an immigrant. Why the hell they had to have a visa or anything is irrelevant, is stupid. It's We don't need a passport to go anywhere in the British Empire. That's imperial law. We need to go back and put all that in place and make sure they adhere to the laws we're sworn up to. It's going to be very hard to, even when the people all agree, to remove the Constitution. Very hard, because we remain a self-governing colony of England until we petition the royal family, if they still exist after this next garbage in the next couple of months. We've got to petition them to get permission to separate. Well, it isn't hard, because that's what Trump did when he went to England. See, everyone thinks, and I'll use this as an example because it's important, America never won its independence, never won the war. It lost. By agreement with England, they signed a binding agreement for America to operate as a self-governing republic under a constitution. Sounds like a bit whoopsie. Yes, it was, because it was only about 8 years and they dumped their constitution and did whatever they liked. So really, we've got an uphill battle. We've got to find enough honest and decent people, and we're getting enough so far, to stand up and say, well, this is what the people of this country want. But we have to be sure, deadly sure, that that's what they want, because they're going to come after us if we don't. Not that I worry too darn hoots if they come after me. I'm 73, so the rest doesn't really worry. But my worry is my kids, my grandkids and great-grandkids, and I'm the second eldest of 14, so there's a lot of us. We just about can fill half of Western Australia because we breed good. But at the end of the day, we need to put forward a solid, complete, clear proposal inside the provisions of the first 2 chapters of the Constitution. I unfortunately can't be here next Saturday. I'm booked for a lecture all day. I'll be away from Thursday through to Sunday. So what I'm going to try and do, if the lecture finishes early enough on the Saturday, is switch in to use anyway, because they'd be interested to hear all about this. So there's another group of people will come in, and they know lots of people, so we can bit by bit bringing them in. So I'm asking you to excuse me next Saturday for that reason. I won't be here. I'll be in Perth, which is nearly 500 k's away. But if you put a proposal together, or I get time, I will do an overview of the first 2 chapters of the Constitution, so you get an idea of exactly what I'm saying. Because the governors of the states, they just select a group of people from all businesses throughout the state and put them in a pool. No political parties, no nothing. And this is where we came unstuck, because everybody thought fantastic new setup we've got with this nice new Commonwealth. And the political parties paid merry hell with us, because there was 8 Labor members in the first Parliament. So how the hell did they get there? They sleazed their way in. We've got to make sure that these people are forced to review or reveal the fact that they belong to political parties. And they're forced to reveal whether they're Fabians, Freemasons, Zionists, Buddhist, or not Buddhist, what do you call them? There's a whole group of people, Druids, Buffaloes. See, the Druids run the Greens, and they're hell-bent on destroying the country. And they say, oh, we're going to look after the environment. The environment doesn't need looking after. I've worked on fuel systems for years, and I can tell you straight out, carbon dioxide is not a pollution. I've already designed a muffler where spraying a chemical through the gas, the carbon dioxide, it'll drop all the carbon out and everything else. What more do you need? But you need carbon on the farms. We've got farms here that put in tons and tons of carbon in. We're actually smashing up coal to a powder and spraying it onto the paddocks because they need the carbon. Well, what the hell are we doing taking it out? It doesn't float around in the air. It's way too heavy. Way too heavy. And there's carbon monoxide. You can get rid of that by turning the petrol to a vapor. We can't change the system we've got like that. We can say over the next 20 or 30 years, we'll get rid of the cars and put electric cars or something. But an electric car in Australia is, you may as well take it to the South Pole because it's going to have as much use there as it is here. you cannot get enough charging stations, and they take too many hours to charge. I've looked into all of that. I've designed an electric motor to sit under the floor of a car. The torque's there, the power's there, but the current's not. We do not have a good supply of current, cheap enough, accurate enough, and easily to charge. And I'm getting off the subject, so I'll get off that.
Yeah, thanks, Wayne. I might jump back in if you don't mind.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah.
Keep things moving along. Okay, so there's a couple of things there that Wayne said that we sort of see a little bit differently at the moment, but that doesn't mean that we aren't working together. So Graham and I actually think that you don't need politicians at all, that we can get to a stage where the people put the votes into the system and the votes are sent out to the public service and public services such as the police, et cetera, et cetera. So, sorry, not the votes, the policies, once the policies are determined. The idea of the QMS is that people propose policy in it. When 1,000 people want the same policy, the policy will come up in a news feed. The news feed will then alert other people that the policy, there's 1,000 people interested in that particular policy. And when it hits 10,000, then experts are brought in. Now, they're volunteer experts. They're not going to be on anyone's payroll. They're coming in as patriots to work for the Australian people and to determine what's true and right for us, rather than being paid to say, okay, take a vaccine that'll probably kill you. Now, the idea behind this is that whatever they find, whether it's good or bad, they're going to have to put it forth. It's a totally transparent system. It's something that the Australian people will then see. So we've got to 10,000, everybody sees the determinations, and that policy will develop through that group of experts. What will be put back to the people for a referendum-based vote, and that can be from a council level, a state level, or right up to a federal level, depending on whatever the issue at hand is. Then what will happen is it goes out to a referendum vote. The people then decide whether they want it, whether it affects them as a local council or a state area or federally, nationally, whatever you prefer to say. And of course, if something is raised globally, I mean, we'd still have diplomats. It's just that, again, they're now working for the people as part of a public service. It's taking the people who are causing the corruption, money, politics, an idea of power, and all of the tools that they have at hand. Of course, they're going to be corrupt. They can make money from it, and the people that go in there to work with them in politics, I mean, they trick them or they seduce them. They give them something that's too good to refuse, or they trick them in and catch them out, and then they blackmail them. So the idea is the main driving force behind the QMS is if we can automate the process of the Senate and the Parliament and actually have people voting on policies rather than them putting forth policy, determining it, and we're voting on parties that say they're going to put certain policies forward but do not, then the balance of power changes. It inverts the pyramid of power and puts the people at the top. And of course, if we don't want something in our public service, or we need something in the public service, it's raised, it's voted on, the people bring it forth. Everything is conceptual until people determine that it's real. I mean, money's a concept, time's a concept, government's a concept. It's all conceptual. The only reason people obey these things or use them is because they're scared, or they have needs or requirements for things. Time's used to basically work out your age and how long you spend at a labor task so that you can earn money. Yet nothing really is real. It's all fiction. So if we want to change the fiction that we're living in, and we know that it's a corporation, we know that we live in a prison island that has never really evolved from the original prison system. We know a lot of wrong's been done by the original people here and by the current people who reside here. We can't fix the past, but we can step over the line and create a new future. And that is what we're proposing that we move forward into. Now, we've got legal teams working, and Wayne and Graham and the guys have been doing a fantastic job. Hakara's been involved, Jackie Dundee, Tim Dwyer. What they're doing is not redesigning policy. They're talking about what the structure could and should be if we return to the 1901 Constitution status. Now, that doesn't mean that White Australia is reintroduced or any of the laws will necessarily even change initially, because people need to vote on what they want to change. People need to determine it, and that can only be done when people bring it forth and then people en masse vote. Now, we've got a social media section of the QMS, and the concept behind that is to educate people and as an area where information is put forth. So this is where the clarity in the system comes from. The only source in this system for instance, news media would be the news feed. So the news feed going out, the media, if they try to paint it a certain way or another, it's still there. The original source point is there for people to go back to and determine their own idea and understanding on it. Look, the way to get there is to get the 65% that of voting age people that Wayne mentioned, and that is a big job. Sorry.
It's a huge job. It's a huge job, and I agree with you. I can see what you're saying about replacing politicians with the people. That could fit into the Constitution, but it'd have to be done by referendum, obviously. You know, I've always pushed the Constitution because it's a safeguard.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere where we can fall back and ram down the neck of a politician and say, you're going to do it because we said so. But to do it, remove the politicians and take the place by putting in the laws, how you say, or suggested laws, that's a good idea. And that could be done inside the alteration part of 128 by referendum. We could propose a referendum because we're supposed to anyway.
Well, that's what the idea is. When we get to that point, we propose it within the system. If we've got 8.5, 9 million members on, there's 14.3 million voting registered voters in Australia at the moment. So if we can get to say 8.5, 9 million, I think you'll find we've got the 65% then. And at that stage,
very close.
Yeah, it's
very close. Look, I just got in for a sec. Somebody come in about immigration, people coming from other parts of the country. The Constitution says if you immigrate, you've got to naturalise, which just means you swear an oath to the reigning monarch. If we still have one, that'll have to be something that's determined by the people, obviously, whether they want to retain her or whoever after that, or go on our own. If we go on our own, then it will be straight immigration. And then we'd have to have an oath to the people and not to the reigning monarch. That could all be rectified. Of course, you have to go through the process of removing the Constitution. It's all letters patent, and only the reigning monarch can do it. Because Kiwi in Australia here, well, Kiwis are actually part of New South Wales in the Constitution.
Oh, that's interesting. But
clause 6, it's in there.
The QMS
it's always in there. You can't take it out.
The QMS in itself is the tool that we use to make these changes and put them forth. And with the people, if we get there and along the way we can get people to agree that this is the right way to go, and we can put forth the proposals for the new systems in there, we can develop them with the people. Sorry, I've just got to let a few more people in. We can.
Look, I've got no problem with what you're talking about. I can see the merit in what you're doing, or I wouldn't be here. I'd just say, I go away and get off here. I can see the merit in it. I can see the bad things in it because I've seen both parts. I actually investigated politicians, big companies and stuff like that in the police force, and they tried to knock me off 3 times for some of the information I uncovered on them. But you don't worry about that. If you worry about that, you're going to run scared for your life. I'm not scared of anybody, and I'll front anybody, even at my age, couldn't care less. Look, at the end of the day, we need to put a proposal. I like the proposal, but I also like the fact that we have a good proposal under our Constitution. I understand people want to get this done, and I want to get it done if it's going to happen. We need to put the whole lot on. The Postmaster General would not be able to operate in the quantum management system, whoever put that up. I understand what you're talking about. I've read all about that. No one is authorised to fly the free flags without... Look, we're going to have... If we do set up a quantum management system, I'm answering questions that are coming in, we're going to have to dump the flag and put a flag there that represents everybody in this country. And forget the black red and orange flag. That is black power out of South Africa. They can reconstruct it anywhere. The blue one, you have to get rid of England. The red one, get rid of England. We'd have to choose a background that suits the people, and that would be from all the people through your system, Graham.
Yep.
I can't see any problem with that. We need to revamp the whole system. So there's a lot to get through.
Yeah. Well, as I say, the QMS is a referendum tool for the people to use. So basically, we put it out there, we let people join and become members.
Yeah.
When we get the correct demographic and we can run the referendum vote, we run it within the system and then we present the result. And at that stage, you know, as I say, I don't understand the legal documents that need to be done at that point and what needs to be done to bring it through. But that my understanding with discussion with Graham and yourself is at that stage, we're pretty covered. We put it forth and basically make a few declarations and away it goes.
Yeah, well, you're pretty well right there. Look, you'd have to have the control of the people. As soon as you get that, you're basically revamping the Commonwealth of Australia. And I understand, I don't know who that king is, somebody come up with, fine if there's a king, but we're not going to use anybody else's flag. We'll use a flag put forward by Australians. And I'm talking about black, white, brindle, yellow. I couldn't care what colour they are. Some people call me a racist. Well, that's funny. My wife is blacker than half the Aboriginal people in this country, and she's from Cherrabon, West Java. Who cares? Colour of the skin is nothing. What's in here? What's in here? In our hearts. What we work forward to for the benefit of everybody. I've seen things no one should have to see in their life, but continually, and I've seen what people do to each other, and that rips me apart when you see it. Especially what they do to kids. I'd like to strangle half of them, but you can't. You cannot stoop to that level. So this system I can see is a way, and if I see it's going the wrong way, I'll be the first one to stand up and mouth off, because that's I'm always mouthing off about something. But it's constructive mouthing off, and I hope we can all. I look at all the faces, and you're all staring at me and thinking, "Oh, who's this ignorant old bugger?" But I've been around enough to know and seen enough to know the system is broken. And there was a way for them to step out before. We got to block that way. So that's the first job we've got to do. And then if you're going to go on the quantum system, the monetary system, we need to have money people can carry around, because you come over where I am, it's 100 Ks to the next town. There's nothing in between. There's 134 Ks to the next one.
Oh yeah, no, Graham and I agree. If the financial system was to be replaced, we'd like to see a system that actually used banknotes and coins as well.
We'd have to have both, because you need if you're dealing in the banks, well, we won't have banks how they are set up now anyway. They've already changed worldwide. I don't know if you know that. To a quantum system, money-backed currency. That was a good move, because that blocks people, countries like America. There's a lot of pig-headed, arrogant people there, and like there is here too, who want to manipulate the figures or jack the currency up here and then drop it here, so they can manipulate buying and selling of shares and everything. That's what it's for. It's a rip-off. Fuel will be set at a set price worldwide. I mean, we can produce our own fuel here for 10 cents a litre. Why are we paying $1.49 here, where I am here, $1.49.9 right at this tick, almost $1.50 for what?
So all of the processes and policies everything will be changed at the will of the people. So it becomes the country, as Wayne's saying, it becomes the country that the people want. So people put things forward, they make the suggestion. When it develops enough impetus, it will eventually come up and be voted either for or against. We propose that the legal system should be common language and not legalese, because it would be much better to have a simple legal system where the common man can understand it without needing to have representation every time, and money doesn't have to be a factor in whether or not you win your case. All of these things can be changed. Our education system, we can make it so our children are taught to think, and they're taught to think independently and do their research. We can make it.
Penny.
Sorry, Wayne?
Can you just put a sign up? Yeah, a referendum. You got it. Yeah, look, what you're saying, Graham, is perfectly correct. We need a system where, look, the legal system, the first way to fix the legal system is get all the lawyers and feed them down the sewer. Some of the stuff pours out of their mouths. I sit there and shake my head and think, you're full of crap, mate. Even I can tell you're lying, but the judge says, oh, yes, we can do that, Mr. Whatever. You know, what a lot of crap. And I stand up and tell them I get into trouble for it. Cost me 10 grand for telling the judge where to get off once, but best 10 grand I ever spent in my life. But I did have it at the time. I don't at present, but I'll get it back. Look, the problem is they're going into our courts as officers of the court, and they're not. We need people. If someone's going to speak for somebody, it's Joe Blow off the street. I mean, I look at the faces here. You're all intelligent people. You've got a reasonable knowledge of the law. And if it was simplified and you went in there, and I know people can't even open them, and they get them before the court and they're like this and can't get a word out of them. Somebody needs to be out in the court, needs to take that person outside to a room, sit down, work out what they want to say, go back there and speak on his behalf. I do it as an advocate for myself because I got my name in capital letters declared as a legal fiction. So now when I go to court, they couldn't produce a contract between the legal fiction and me. I'm the advocate. Now, we need advocates, not lawyers. Lawyers are paid liars. They will lie to get the good for their client. This is not about that. In a justice system, justice is the application of truth in everything we do. And we need to get back to that, where we're telling truth in court. We go there. I've been in court several times, and I've got commendations from the department for it, where I put someone in the court, they pleaded not guilty. I go to court, I give the evidence, and they stand up and say, I want to change my plea because what you just said is what happened. I always try to get their story and put their story, because even if someone's broken the law or done something wrong, they have a story of the reason why they did it. And sometimes the reason why, I mean, I've seen a woman punch the daylights out of her husband, and they're capable of doing it, some of them, believe me. And you get them in court and you say to them, because I prosecuted for 2 years, and that's a story I'm not getting into, but while prosecuting, I had women come into court charged with assault and battery and bodily harm on their husbands. And while in the witness box, you know, they want me to attack. And I said, no, I'm not going to attack you. Explain in your own words what took place, what brought you to this mindset, and why did you do what you do? And then I'll withdraw the charge against them, because if someone's in your face, that far from your face, saying bitch, slut, whore, and all this stuff, what are you going to do? If you're a woman, you're going to whack them. If you're a man, you're going to stupidly do it. And you're not a man if you're a woman anyway. That's my way. I got into trouble a few times for bashing guys that bash their wives, because that was my favourite sport. I don't think anyone should hit a woman. They're not strong as men. I come out of working 6 years in a timber mill and 4 years in a brickyards before I went in the police force. Even though I was qualified TV technician and engineer, I like hard work, so I did it. But at the end of the day, if I hit my wife, I would have killed her. My first wife was not a very nice person. He slept with everybody else. I just packed up my stuff and said, goodbye, you're a bitch. You've been spreading yourself around. I don't want any more to do with you. That should end a marriage. I mean, calling her a bitch and spreading her around, that's the only thing that should come in it. You should put your opinion. This is how you split up a marriage. I gave her everything. She couldn't have any more kids, so I gave her everything, including the profit for the house. But I paid all the debts first and said, there you are, goodbye. If we could do that in society, if we could get people to act like humans, and I'd love to do it, if Graham, both Grahams and all your people could get that concept into people's minds, we could do what is being proposed. We, as a nation, are very, very capable of doing everything we set out to do. I know that for sure. I get around, I meet thousands of people. And unfortunately, I see some of them need a kick in the butt, some of them need a clip under the ear, some of them just need given a hug and say, come on, let's go and do this. We can sort this out. So we need to look at people as humans. I don't care if they're black and they smell, or yellow and they smell, or they're just an old drunk. I've got my cousin here, he's 71, and he hasn't had a bath in a week, but that's him. But he's a lovable little character. I won't kick him out in the street. He can't hardly walk anywhere. And there's another young bloke who's exactly the same, staying here, and we've got a bit of a house in the shed. But we look after them. Why? Because we're humans. If we could get that into everybody's mind, we wouldn't have the conflict. Then this quantum management would be a good system where you walk up to someone in the street and you say, what's your opinion on this? Well, I think it should be this. So you take that opinion next time you go to a group meeting and you say, well, I've met some people and they need this, because that's their view on life. We need to put everybody's view on life. So we're representing, all the people are representing each other as Australians, for Australians. That's why I like the concept of government for the people, by the people, because it can't work any other way and be fair. And
It's got to be.
power corrupts, and absolute power absolutely corrupts. And if you turn it back, I've seen both sides of it. I've worked with some pretty rough people, pretty strong people. One of them in particular in a timber mill could pick up the back of his car while his mate changed the wheel and then put it down. That's strong. I mean, strong. And he was 67 years old too. But
Wow.
these people, we have people with strong bodies. We have people with strong minds. Let's get it all together, utilize what we've got and put it into a system. Might sound a grand gesture which will never come off. No, that's wrong. Australia has done everything it's set out to do. Trouble is, we're not setting out to do the correct things. We need to set out and instead of pouring billions of dollars into Indonesia, God knows they need it, but it needs people to go there and put it there, set up houses, set up places. But we need it here as well. We need to look after the people here, the people around us. Why did we dump New Guinea when it's a fledgling nation? It's part of Australia. Why the hell aren't we there helping it? Half of us still think to settle an argument is to spear the person next door or throw rocks at them or do something stupid. We've got to get there and be an example, and we can do that through this quantum system, and I believe we can, as long as it works according to what we want. And if we find somebody corrupt in there, boot them out. Boot them out.
Absolutely. There won't be anyone corrupt in it because the system will be maintained by a public service that'll be set up around it. They won't be manipulating data in it because they won't have access to it because it's kept in the blockchain. So at the end of the day, what we will have is a public service that's receiving the answers that it's putting out based on the will of the people. Now, I've mentioned that it has AIs in it. I'll come back on screen so you can see me. My apologies. I've just been up in the background.
You've been hiding off screen. What have you been doing?
I've been letting people in and yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. But basically, this is something that we run, right? If we're sitting at the top of the public service chain and making the decisions, then we, as I mentioned before, we build the public service, we build the legal system, we build the healthcare system, education systems that we need for the people, rather than letting us be told what we need. Look, Wayne's quite right. The structure that's there, it's meant to take the voice of the people. You're meant to be able to approach your local MP with your concerns, and they raise that all the way up. And if there's enough of them, they go into the parliament, or whether it's state or federal, and it's resolved there. That doesn't happen because you can't get a voice. You can't get heard by these MPs. You can petition them, you can protest, you can go into their offices and talk directly to them. You'll get some flowery words and you'll get a pat on the head and sent on your way. We're all children to them. We're infants. They don't believe we know what we want, and they're here to tell us what we want. Now,
don't forget, Graham, they're also driven by their parties. There's a caucus, and it doesn't matter what the people want. If the caucus decides otherwise, that's what they do. So absolutely, there is. I just wanted to chuck a few things in if I could, seeing I've been out, because I could just got back in again. I think a lot of people, and Wayne, you'll probably be able to comment on this as well. A lot of people are concerned that once we get the QMS operational, that and we prorogue the parliament or whatever it happens to be that we do, that the country will go into anarchy because no one will be running it. And I just like to tell people, politicians do not run this country. Public servants run this country. The politicians, if anything, stuff it up. They don't, all they do is they carry on in the parliament, pick up their 200 grand and then do whatever they feel like, stick their entitlements in their pocket and go home and have a long weekend. We know that the public service experts, and I'm not talking about the fat cats now, I'm talking about the rank and file, run this country. They've got all these different departments. God knows we pay enough money in public service wages. So the country won't fold up and go to its knees and develop into anarchy and, Armageddon and all this sort of stuff. It will continue to run, but we will have to appoint people to oversee it. And we have got some unbelievably talented people in this country that can and have offered their help before. We've got First Nations people who've offered help in bush management, in drought management, and all these sort of things that have always been knocked back because some idiot politician's got a mate that thinks he knows how to make it rain. So all these things will disappear, but the country won't fall into chaos. It'll still continue. It'll probably be a lot better off. And Wayne just touched on the fact that giving money to somebody is not always the right thing to do. We've always had a history of going boots on the ground and helping our neighbours, and I'm talking about our regional neighbours in the Asia-Pacific. We've always helped people. We've built hospitals, we've built accommodation, we've done all that. But then the corporations came in and said, well, let's just throw some money at it. And obviously it's not their money, so they don't care.
Yeah, and it doesn't work because the greedy mob grab it.
Well,
yeah, I understand what you just put up. It's correct. Our public service needs to be under the control of the people. We're over-governed. When I was a kid, my dad contracted for the roads boards and everything was paid for out of consolidated revenue. He drove front-end loaders, graders, truck, you name it, he could drive it. And that was his forte, so good on him. And I know it worked. They looked after the roads, the footpaths, the library, and the local people in the town looked after their parks.
Yep.
I mean, why do we have to pay a pack of thieving idiots to tell us if we can scratch ourselves on our property? I'm the worst person in the world when it comes to local government, because the local government in the Constitution is a state parliament, so like it or lump it, that's it. The local government system we got is nothing but corruption. I built a 10 metre by 15 metre by 5 metre high industrial shed and built it out as a double-storey house inside, all without permits. When they turned up and said, where's your permits? I said, go write one for me. You want one? I don't want it. Well, you can't do this. No. I hold my land in fee simple. I ended up using my F-250 four-wheel drive, pushed them down the drive straight in the bush and left them there. Get the hell off my property. I paid for it. I own it. We need to stand up and say, in my case, I'm a man. I wouldn't expect a woman to say that. Get off the property. It's mine. I paid for it. And that's what land in fee simple is, owned by you, alienated from the Crown. The Crown can't tax something you're alienated from. It's not possible. But dealing on tax itself, it needs to come out. While I was in the Gap Party for a short while until I worked out, I'm not interested in people who don't tell me the truth, so I walked out of there. But what I worked out in there was, for the first 12 months of a new system, we only need 2% transaction tax.
Yep.
After that, every year, 1%. So that actually makes billions, actually trillions. Our GDP, by the way, is not 999 billion. It's like about 15, 16 trillion. They're filtering it off. See, another thing we need to understand, Australia is not a corporation. The Commonwealth of Australia as a company is a trading company, LLC, registered in Delaware and District of Columbia in New York State, that has 18 companies under it. You can go on Dun and Bradstreet, the 18 companies are there. You need to look them up and understand how crooked these fleas are setting this up. So when you walk up the cop and you say you work for a corporation, no, you don't. You work for a subsidiary company of a corporation. You just need to show them the ABN number, this Australian business number. Who owns them? The state parliament owns them. The state parliament is set up as a subsidiary company of the Commonwealth of Australia Trading Company. There's one corporation set up in the US Securities Exchange Commission. Its registration number is 0000805157. It's there. It's in front of you. You can access it. The good thing that's happened is Trump knocked out that mob. But the others, how they get in there, they register with the US Department of Justice as foreign agents under the Foreign Agents Act, which causes them to give you 4 documents every time they want to exert authority. Where are the documents? I put that to the Premier of WA and he said, oh, we don't have to comply with that. Yes, you do, because it lists, if you go onto their site and look up foreign agents, it'll give you a list of everything they must put there.
Yeah.
And those documents must be filled so they can, before they can even tax us or do anything.
Sorry, Wayne, I just need to sort of keep moving forward, mate.
Let's keep going. That's fine. Yep.
I wanted to ask Tim too. He's got a few ideas on how we can bring people into the system. Tim Dwyer, would you like to sort of mention how you came across the QMS, your involvement in it, and your ideas around how we can get some people in, mate?
Sure. Yep, that'd be great. Thanks, Graham. And
G'day.
Wayne, I agree 100% with what you've said. You're right on the money, as always. Yeah, look, I've been floating around the fringes of law for a long time. An old Baptist minister mate of mine 30 odd years ago, Bob Payne over in Melbourne. Bob introduced me to the Constitution and the Bible at the same time. He said, you can't really live in this country unless you understand both. And
Exactly.
so anyway, Bob and I formed a good friendship. From there, we've fought a few battles. We've picked on a few bullies. We've had some wins. And as everybody else, we've had some losses. However, we did have a punch up with the ATO, and finally we did get a win when they agreed that they are not a legal entity. Anyway, moving on. With what we're doing here in the QMS, I've had this idea, like, this is not a new concept to me, the mechanics of it with the blockchain and all that. Brilliant, because the technology is now available. I've been speaking at a few rallies and bits and pieces, and I got invited to pop on here and add a few thoughts, if I may. We talk about a number of things, but one of the biggest thing we've got to work with right now, I think, is we need 8 to 9 million people. And I'm just looking here, the 69 that we've currently got doesn't quite add up to 8 to 9 million. So
We're getting there, but we're getting there, Jim.
we're getting there, right? So, but how do we get there a lot faster? All right, how do we get there a lot faster? Well, there's the simplest way. We can't rely on anybody else to do it. We can't advertise. I mean, people are snowed under with information on social media platforms all over the place. I mean, they're almost information blind at the moment because there's that much out there. And there's so many bushfires. Everybody's got their own. As each of you here on this call tonight, you would have your own pet area that you're really interested in. Some are interested in the Constitution, some are interested in the vaccine, some are interested, and it goes on and on and on. These are all bushfires, right? What we want to do is try and bring as many of those folk together as we are here tonight. I have this concept of, well, as you can see on my little thing there, I'm only one. And you and I together, we're one group, but each of you are one. Mahatma Gandhi, he was one, but he gathered some people around him. You know, Martin Luther King, he was one, but he gathered people around him. And we've got to bring people in. And the only way I can see we can do this quickly is if we sit there on the concept of 5. One of the things I like to point out to people is that when you work on the factor of 5, would it be fair to say, and give me just a bit of a nod of the head or a wave or something, that you would all know 5 people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired? Yep. You would all know 5 people who no longer have any trust whatsoever in the government. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. So let me just do some maths for you. Don't send it out on Facebook. Don't put it out on Twitter. Don't do the, pick up your darn phone, go around to your mate's place, talk to somebody at work, but talk to people in person. People don't want to get an invite on social media. They get them all day. They want you to show that you care enough, because there's an old saying, people don't care how much you know until first they know how much you care.
That's it. Yeah.
Right?
True.
You've got to go and talk to your friend. It might be on the phone, it might be in person. You have to talk to your friend. But I want you to understand this. Well, right now we've got 70 people on here. I'm going to start with that number, right? 70. And I'm going to multiply that by 5. If we all brought 5 people in, that would be 350 people that are now added in to the QMS. And we're going to talk to those people as they enter the QMS. The first thing we would like you to do, perhaps, is how about you bring 5 of your friends? Because I can tell you something, people, when they first get their head around a concept, that initial excitement is when they are the most, we'll use a word that's out there today, contagious. That's where their enthusiasm brings other people, right? And so then you've got another 1,700. We're going to talk to those 1,700 and ask them to bring 5. Then you've got 8,700 and we're only 4 invites through. And we're going to ask those people to bring a handful. Now we're 5 in there, 5 levels through, 5 invites through, and we're 43,000 people. And then we're just going to ask those. Then we got to bring 5, and we got 218,000. And how many did you invite? Oh, 5. How many did they invite? 5. Everybody can find a handful. If you ask the question, I honestly believe this, do you trust the government? No. Are you sick and tired of basically being screwed by the government? Yep. Would you be open to looking at a change of system? Hell yes. And where we are today with the lunacy that we're facing, there has never been a more opportune time to bring large numbers of people together very, very quickly. But, you know, Graham and Wayne and Karen and I, we can't just do like, we're only one. We're only one, you're only one. But if we all bought 5, somewhere in this country next weekend, there's a rally, some sort of freedom rallies on. Right? Now, some places are going to be tough. Sydney's going to be real bad. Brisbane's going to be really interesting. Look, it's going to get interesting. But if you could invite 5 of your friends to that, you'd invite 5 of your friends around for a barbecue and a booze up. Why wouldn't you invite 5 of your friends to free the country?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we've had Matt out walking the street. Matt Lawson's been out talking to people and asking if they trust the government. Matt, would you mind saying a few words on that?
Yeah. Hi, guys. I've found it's been
Thanks,
really
Tim.
a really easy conversation to have. Just with the fact, so I actually, when I was out today, I know this might sound like a childish kind of thing to do, but I was drawing in chalk on the ground in the local area where I live, just drawing some, affirmations and stuff. But on the ground as well, I was writing, "Do you trust the government?" And every single person that went past read the positive affirmations. Then they read that, and then it started the conversation. So I said to them, "Do you currently trust the government?" "Oh, when the first lockdowns happened, I trusted what was going on, but now I'm in a spot where I just don't believe that they know what they're doing." And I said, well, there's obviously, a lot of things going on. It's a hard time right now, but what would you think about a new system? Obviously right now, there's not much of an opposition. There's the government and the opposition's pretty much towing the line. There's no real pushback. what would you think if there was a new system that was in place where the people made the decisions for themselves? Because the people have always had the power. And every person, 9 out of 10 people today said, yep, that sounds great. There was one person when I asked the question, would you be interested in a new system? They said it's all too hard. And that sort of was just, that was the only person that was negative to it. And I didn't really want to keep on going with them because they're on the move. But it's a really easy conversation to say, you know, blah, blah, blah. The first thing that, if I didn't have it in writing on the ground, yesterday I did it without having my chalk. And I just said to people, oh, how about these lockdowns? And these were people who were masked up. They were right in the middle of it all. And I just said, how about these lockdowns? And they're like, yeah, it's crap, you know, it's no good. And I'm like, yeah, the kids are struggling without school and whatever else. As soon as you break the ice, I always say to people, find common ground first. And it doesn't matter if we're all different in a certain way. Diversity is fantastic, but find some common ground. We all pretty much hate lockdowns at the moment. So that's really easy common ground. From talking about the fact that we all dislike lockdowns, you can then go into the fact of, do you trust your government? Do you really think they got your best interests at hand with this? And whether they say yes or no, you can then say, well, there's a new system that's coming about, which is outside of the two-party preferred. Would that be something that you'd be interested in dealing with? And nearly every single person says, you know, that sounds great. And you can go into the fact that the people have always had the power. We just forgot. We're just being blindsided. You know, they don't teach our constitution in school. There's a lot of things that we're not being taught, and we're sort of just running along with the system. We're sort of stuck in that matrix. So it's a really easy conversation to go into. And I found today, so at least 10 people today in about half an hour, maybe less. But on top of that, if you were to do this in your friendship circle, I reckon you get every single person in your friendship circle on board, because you're not talking pro-vax, anti-vax, you're not talking masks, you're just talking about the system as a whole. And within this system at the moment, there's so many different areas where we're being screwed. If you know 10 friends, you're going to know people that are stuck in the family courts that are struggling. You're going to know people that are stuck with business taxes that are overbearing. You're going to know people trying to buy a first home that can't do it. So you can really lead into this in a lot of different ways. You nearly need to be a little bit nimble on your feet. But if you start off by just saying, what about these lockdowns? Nearly every single person is going to be on board with you, because I don't think there's really anyone out there that enjoys being a prisoner in their own home when they're healthy.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate that, and appreciate your work too, buddy. We can't wait to get some of the footage so we can actually start stitching.
I've got about 6 or 7 from today. I'm going to do a few more tomorrow and send them all through to you.
Thank you. And look, yeah, he's right. If you go talk to your friends and you say, hey, look, as Tim was saying earlier, 5 friends, if you say, hey, look, do you trust the government? Simple question. I'm pretty sure most of them will say no. Would you consider a new option? Yes. Show them our system, show them what we're proposing, talk to them about it. We'll get the numbers quick enough once people realise what's out there. There will be some marketing done down the track, but again, these things cost money and we're trying to do it without money. It's more about people power. We could ask people to contribute money and pay for marketing with that, but why? When we've all got a voice, and networking is the best marketing tool that's out there that I'm aware of. So if we all go out, talk to our friends and family, it may not have as much effect on social media, but I'm not against sharing it on social media. I'm not against talking about it in public, to be quite honest. There's nothing illegal in what we're doing. What we're doing is essentially, the correct term, I think, is exercising our right to political freedom and political expression. And I mean, if we can get enough people on board and enough people aligned with the concept, I think, is fairly strong. It's a really good way to run the country. It's a way that we don't have public service on fat wages. We don't have people, stealing money from us in the form of taxation and other illegal methods that they gain income for themselves from us. And at the end of the day, we can manage the country the way we feel it's meant to be managed. And look, someone asked the question in the chat before, how do we get our truther friends on board? And that's a really good question, because that is, believe it or not, where I find the most resistance. When I'm out there talking in public to people that I don't know, they're quite interested in the concept. But when I talk to friends who are awake, they're very suspicious, and that's understandable. We're awake. We've seen what can happen. We've seen what goes on. I think the best thing to do is to point out to them there is no money involved. This has come from a bloke that's basically a tradesman. He's given it out to the people because it's not meant to even be for me. There's no profit in any of this. The profit is our freedom. So if we all work together and we build, we can create our freedom. But we've got to do it together. The more people that get on board, the more people that you can bring in, the stronger we become. And we've got over 500 members who have actually signed up as members at the moment. That may not sound like a lot, but we've been open for about 5 weeks with the website. And at 100 members a week, if this was a business, I'd be absolutely, well, it's actually a bit more. I think it was 550 last check, but I'd be pretty happy. We've got over 8,000 on our contact database, and we're getting hits on the website. There was over 10,000 hits on the website since opening. So it's about retention, and we are redesigning the website to address that. We want people to, and initially we had for the first 3 weeks, we had issues with the membership form and getting that working properly. I'm not a web designer, but I'm learning very quickly at the moment. What we have at the moment is a marketing tool. So the website is about building the membership and displaying the content and giving some people somewhere to land. We are adding content with the help of Tim and Jackie Dundee, Graham, Wayne, Hakara and others, where eventually you will be able to free yourself from aspects of the system. I might get Graham to talk on some of that in a minute, but we will have some legal assistance sections in there for people where you'll be able to access documents. Hakara has sent through some great paperwork today that Graham and I've got to go through, but that's all going to go up on there. And we've got Karen Yardley in the background who's doing a fantastic job of stitching everything together and making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. We've got a little bit more.
Graham, can I just mention one thing really quickly?
Please, mate, you go for it, mate.
Yeah, just because Von Star just asked a really good question down the bottom. He said, if someone says, well, we've got a system now and there's 2 leaders and what are you guys going to do? And I think Von Star said, well, we've got a new political party. This isn't a political party as such. Absolutely. And that's what we need to make sure we're really succinct with. And that's what we probably need to get into a video. This is a new system. So the idea that I've said to a lot of people is right now you've got a minister for education, you've got a minister for whatever it is, all the different ministers, and they can be corrupt as all hell. They're just one person and they get voted in, they do whatever they want, and the people don't get any more say once those people are in. You try to email them, you try to do whatever you can to get the message across. They can listen to you or not listen to you. With this new system, it's the people that make the decisions. So you're continually having, I wouldn't call it policies, but terms of reference that you put together as a people, and then it goes out to a referendum to be put into place. So it's not a new political party, it's a brand new system. That's what we have to teach people.
Absolutely.
It's a people system of good governance.
Yes, good governance, not government.
We're not trying to overthrow the government. We don't need to. We've got a system that can replace the Westminster system. Why overthrow them?
Yep. We just need to put in a people system of good governance, which is what it is. And it's clear and it can fit in with the Constitution with a little bit of tuning of the Constitution. And I can see that it will work as long as everybody pulls their weight. I mean, my ex-missus used to call me, have a chat, and everybody still does that because I can stop and talk to anybody. But the people in this town that I know all follow what I say on Facebook. So I am adding a few things which will lead to what you're doing. But we do need on the website and easy access. I found it a bit difficult myself to get on there earlier, but I'm not very good on computers. I admit that. I'd rather punch things into them and get things out of them because it works better for me. But anyway, yeah, we need a good system of good governance for the people and by the people, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
We need to carry it through for truth, because justice is truth and it's simple.
Someone's asking, what does joining entail? We just want to make something clear that the website is not the QMS. The website is just a landing place for like-minded people to go and find out about the QMS, to offer their ideas in the forum. We have a forum very similar to any other social media platform, but it's uncensored. That doesn't give you license to swear either, because we don't want any of that. But that forum is for you to share and to link up with like-minded people. It's not the QMS. The QMS will be built. It's ready to go, but we have to fine tune a lot of it. And then when that's ready, that's when the alternative will be offered. So joining at the moment is really just letting us know who you are on the website, so that we know who to send the updates and the information to.
Correct.
In terms of
helps build a demographic as well. Sorry, Graham.
Exactly. And the thing is that, Tim was mentioning, 5 people bring 5 people to the website to start with, so that we can give them the education and the information they need to make a valued judgment of whether they, and really it's not a big decision, to stay with the 2-party system or to go with a system that they now understand as being more secure than that fingerprint. Okay, so that's what we're designing. So everyone has to get the idea of having a say, being able to have a say in real time. So you don't have to wait for 4 years. And I know that there's movement in the political system at the moment they want another year. So they want 5 years now. So, the longer that they get, the more that damage they can do to us along the way. Whereas the QMS will allow people to muster well, first of all, hatch an idea, and then whether it be local, state or federal, and get people to support that idea, put it into the system, let it go through the process, and the process will be enhanced and refined as we move forward. And then, if it flies and it works and it's economically sound and it's something that people support, then it'll go to a referendum. You won't have to wait 4 years to get something done. So if it's a local issue of a big pothole down the road that they just won't fix because they're too bloody lazy, I know that's bringing it down to the lowest level, but that could even be done in a community, because we have absolutely believe that unity starts in community, and that's the 5 people that that's your little community. And then you link that little community with another little community, and then all of a sudden we've got millions of people who have realized that there are alternatives which are much, much better. It's less stress on everyone in the country, and they will know their rights and be able to exercise those rights, basically off their mobile phone. So the only way that this is going to work is with you, and it starts with you and it ends with you. And I mean you as in all the people out there. That's, the Commonwealth of Australia is the people. Yep. We've been crowing about this for many, many years, Wayne a lot longer than I have, but it all comes back to the people. If the people will just stand up, there's a little meme that goes around of the Monopoly board with all the people kneeling down underneath it and all the elite at the top playing the game. All the people have to do is stand up, and the whole game's over.
Absolutely. Yep. Now, Karen wanted to say something before. Did you still have something to say, Karen? No? You need to unmute.
She talks too much, Graham. She's always talking.
Graham, behave yourself.
Yeah.
Jim Riddell had something to say. Jim, about the fluoride, we're working to get that out, mate. It's got to go. That's medication. They can't do that. I don't have it. We use rainwater, but the difference is phenomenal.
The thing,
and I just saw Shell Bell wrote, if there's other systems out there that are very similar, you know what I think is going to happen as this gets growing? There'll be other people that have got similar ideas that aren't exactly the same, that already have groups that they've brought together and members. I think the beauty of Graham Turner and these guys is how flexible they are. If we start running alongside another group that has members, there's no reason why we can't come together, because in the end, a new system is going to take everyone. So if we've got groups that are, I think there's one out there called the Flux system that people have come up with. I've read it and it's not perfect and it's a software-based one. We need people power, like Graham said before. So there's going to be points where different groups align and jump on board with us as this starts to take off. I can see that happening for sure.
That sort of thing's been happening a bit, actually. So and we've got a lot of people coming in with
and that's the key to it too. We're not saying that we know all the answers. We're not saying that at all. We've got a proposal. Graham authored a brilliant document with a brilliant proposal. Wayne, who would undoubtedly be the most knowledgeable person on our constitution and our constitutional history in this country, and also Dick Yardley, who's another very knowledgeable person. You've got Tim Dwyer and myself, a student of Wayne's for many, many years. It fits. It just fits, and the technology is now. So it's not a software-based thing. It's more. It's way more than that. And we will talk to anyone and everyone, provided it's it's going to be. We're all going to sit down, put everything on the table, and say, well, this is fantastic. This is not so good. We'll put it all together. I mean, that's what people power is all about. It's a melding of minds. It's a sharing of ideas, and that can start on the website. And that's what we want. We're setting up panels in all these areas: health, education, medical procedures, aged care, all these things. We need people who have either got experience, skill set, or training to come together and start sharing what they believe in their minds is the best system we could possibly have, because that's what we want to build. We've got the wealth. Now all we need is the knowledge, the experience, and put the systems in place.
Absolutely, and get the corruption out the way so that we can do it. I think Penny wanted to say something before too. Are you still with us, Penny?
Yeah, hi everyone. I just wanted to talk a little bit about every Sunday I go to stand in the park, right, at 10 o'clock. And before I attended, there wasn't that many people there. Not that I'm saying that I'm important or anything, but what I did was I used that marketing strategy of take 5 people each time, right? And then I grew it to 10, and I'm a speaker, I'm a public speaker. So I went there and I spoke, and Glenn suddenly noticed there was an impact and a lot more people were coming every week because I was speaking about the QMS. And a lot of people had heard about it, which I was surprised about, but they thought it was a party. So I went there and I spoke and I explained it a lot more clearly. It's a referendum system. Guys, do you realize you've lost your voice within this government that is governing us, and we have lost our voice? Do you want your voice back? Do you want the referendum back? And everyone suddenly got the idea. Before that, they had no idea what it really was about. Okay, so I think it's important that we go and build the community every week, use the stand in the park system, and ask everyone to bring 10 people each week. And that's what we've done, and it's grown to like over 100 people there now in the community. The community feels stronger, they feel supported. We've got some ideas that we're putting together every week. We're going to, the people lining up for the poison, and we're handing out informed consent letters for them all to read. And I've actually put a little bit more information down the bottom about the PCR fraud. So by building that community together, now they've all joined the QMS, and I've asked them all to invite 10 people every week. So I've gone from 5 to 10. Tim, I've doubled up, and it actually does work. So we go from, the power of 1, the power of 5, the power of 10. And it's incredible how much more supported our community feels now. We feel stronger, and I think tomorrow we're having a sausage sizzle, and we're bringing the kids. And if we get enough people, we're going to go on a march around the break wall. I'm in Port Macquarie, New South Wales. That was the plan until we went into lockdown this afternoon. So we'll see. But they still want to go. Everyone still wants to go, and we'll just be 2 people 6 feet apart. We'll play their game. We'll do whatever it takes to get the voices heard. And, every week I go and speak about the QMS. So if you can all go to stand in the park and just find your voice, speak, give people the option, and let them understand it's not a political party, because that's what they thought it was.
Absolutely. This is the will of the people, purely and simply. It's got nothing to do with politics apart from we want to get rid of them. Not so much politics. You'll always have something governing a country. I'll come back on camera. My apologies. I've got welder's flash today because I was doing some welding this afternoon, and my eyes are a bit red and watery. So I do apologise. So I've been running off and mopping
Graham,
up.
another question that's popped up a couple of times in the chat is decentralising. Just so that everybody knows, we're 100%.
Absolutely.
On decentralising, decorporatising, and open source, which is completely transparent. Anything that we do with QMS will be exactly that. This will be the ultimate decentralised system. And we've already got interest in what we're doing from New Zealand, Canada, the UK, and the USA. So the people are watching us. They think that the change that's going to come is not going to come from the States. It's going to come from Australia or New Zealand. And the QMS is one of those changes that people are watching because it is the ultimate in decentralized systems. So you're getting rid of all the centralized issues that we have at the moment, which is causing all the problems, because once the decision is made, it filters out throughout the centralized corporatized system, and then it's a done deal. So there's no autonomy, there's no ability for anyone to push back because the corporations are just too big. So that's our aim: complete decentralization, back to the old days. Even the coin of the realm, Wayne, you'd like that? We have a coin of the realm, which is a currency backed by the assets of the Commonwealth, you know, it would be digital and folding.
Yeah, there's all, as I say,
A lot of things going on.
Yeah,
So-
asset back. See, there is a system being put in place behind the scenes. I've known
Yep.
about it for quite a few years
Mm.
to asset back every country in the world, and that's a good system.
Yep.
But you'd be fought full bore by the
Food
Great
banks.
Reset, which is a one world government crap, which we're not
Yep.
going to have anyway, because we're going to fight it every inch of the way.
Absolutely.
I am anyway, even if we're going to go live in the bush and start pinging them off one by one. I'm not going to adhere to their crap. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we need a system where the people are involved and the so-called elites go back to the sewer where they come from, because everything I believe in, you put yourself above someone, you belong. The lowest part is the sewer. Put them back there.
Yep.
That's where they belong.
Yeah.
It's all
We need-
garbage that's spewing out.
I suggested we hand them back to the IMF for the debt they've brought onto the country as
Well,
collateral.
that too. That's going to
Yeah,
happen
there's
too.
many things we can do.
Yeah.
There. Dylan Wilson's got his ideas on what we should do with them as well. So
Something to do with a tree and a rope.
there's something like that. But yeah, look,
It's a road, use fencing wire.
we can't change a thing in the current system's the point, though. So
No, it can't be done.
to change it. And in order to get there, well, we believe we've got the path, and we know that it's legal and lawful. I beg your pardon, bro.
They're going to slap you, mate.
Now you're learning. Now you're learning. Lawful.
Yeah.
We know
Yeah.
it's lawful.
Good boy.
We're not advocating any form of violence. We do not,
Nope.
you know, we're not telling people how to live their lives or anything like that. This is purely about giving people an option, giving them the right and the tool to run their country rather than allow it to be run by these people. So
Yeah.
we can get it up to the stage we get 9 million on board. Voting age people. We can't obviously have little kids sign up. That's not going to make much difference when we show the demographic.
No
but-
kids or
No.
dead people. No.
yeah, no dead people,
Dead
real
people.
people. So we need, 8.59 million real people to sign up to the system. I know that sounds like a big number, and it is a big number.
It is a big
But
number.
we believe we can get there. We look in our movement. We reckon we've got somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million people. If we got all of them on board and everybody bought their 5 friends, we're nearly there.
Mm.
And if
See,
they all bought 5 friends each, we got the whole country then.
Some of the people that we're working with, and a lot of the guests wouldn't know this, but some of the people we're working with have a collective audience of over 2 million people. Now, it was mentioned before that, how do we get all these people together? Do we, bring the groups together? Well, we've found that to be very difficult. And Graham will know, I mean, and so will Wayne. I've been trying to do that for 25 years, and it's a nightmare because you've got so many egos and things. But this is the first time ever that I can think of, and I don't know about you, Wayne, that a proposal's been put forward to build an alternative system instead of trying to get people into the old system.
No.
And this is why it's attracting so much attention, because we've tilted at the windmill so many times. I mean, you can go back over the history, Nick Xenophon, Pauline Hanson, who's still in there, Corey Bernardi, Jackie Lambie, they get in there with the best of intentions, I'm sure, but they've all turned into controlled opposition. So they fold into the network, they get a little few scraps for their electorates or their states or whatever. But at the end of the day, the government controls them, and that's what we have to get away from. And the only way to get away from that is to have a system that is not controlled by an entity or a group of individuals, but the whole of the Commonwealth, so that everyone that's an elector, and I know we've got work to do on what we suggested with who is a qualified elector. We do have to do some work on where the migrants, genuine migrants and genuine refugees fit in, but we also have to worry about what they called the UN invasion, immigration invasion, where people were sent here from other countries for a purpose, and it certainly wasn't a good purpose. No. And we're not going to go into who that was, but it did happen, and we do have people in the community at the moment that are here for nefarious reasons to undermine anything that we do to try and get the country back. So we have to be very wary of that. We're working on it. Simon Day, you mentioned that the people are too brainwashed, but yes, they may be conditioned. I wouldn't say they've been brainwashed. They're conditioned to believe certain things. A lot of them have got the blinders on because they don't want to rock the boat. But, you know, you give them an alternative that they can step out of from underneath the corporation and onto the QMS platform. And we believe that they will do that because they're just waiting for that alternative. And everyone's, you know, that we've been talking to lately says the same thing. Oh, so this is going to be different. It's not attacking. We're not attacking anything. We're going to create something and then give you the option. Now, the option is two-party preferred, where you don't have any say, and what we've got today and more of the same, or have a say in real time and be a part of running the country and setting the future up for your grandkids and future generations. It's not rocket science.
Absolutely.
Graham, can I just, I noticed, you know, I saw that, you know, people are brainwashed. To a point, yes. Terrified, I think, would be a more apt description.
Yep.
Because, and when people become confused, the first thing they'll do is nothing. They'll hunker down. They'll just stop in their tracks. One of the things I did the other day was I was talking to some people and I said to them about the QMS, and they go, "Oh yeah, but you know, what's the real incentive?" And I thought, isn't that an interesting word? You know, freedom would be a good start. But anyway, and I said to them, well, what about if there was no GST and no income tax and a flat rate of, say, 5%, you know, 2% input, 3% output, and that was it? Oh, hell, we do that.
Yeah.
Right? But why? Because it impacts them
Directly.
Directly, right at the very, very essence of why everybody gets up in the morning is to go and earn $1. They just want to keep more of it. So the carrot or the cookie, if you like, is, would that system work for you? Yeah. Well, within the QMS, we could put that out as part of a complete referendum package, and the people of the country would get to vote whether they did or they didn't do that. Oh, I'd be a part of that.
Yeah, won't get too many people voting against it.
Yeah. So, you know, they've got to have a reason why to leave the plantation.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, a lot of the slaves that were freed at the end of the slavery in America, they didn't leave the plantation. They were too scared. They didn't have a big enough reason why to leave the plantation. You're going to find that with a lot of the people, you know, a lot of them, they don't like what it is at the moment. They just don't know what else to do, and they're too scared to move. You've got to give them a reason why to come forward. Yeah.
We do. Yeah. And look,
with the tax system, if I could just butt in there for a second, I did say we only need 2% transaction tax for 1 year and then 1%. When you look at the figures attached to that, the big corporations are paying absolutely zero and they're transferring billions every month.
Yeah.
When you look at that 1% or 2%, that's huge. That's more, you know, you're looking at trillions of dollars into the coffers. Once we clean out the sewer, which is all the pigs in the trough bleeding this country, that will give us everything we want plus more. Yep. I mean, the fuel tax alone in this country is 3.5 to 5 trillion in the privately owned vehicles situation, you know, like privately owned trucks and that. you know, the trucks here that go up this highway, like something like about 4,000 a week, are spending between here and Carnarvon $1,000, which is 1,000 Ks. It's $1 a kilometre or more.
Mm.
And it's really bad what's going on. And I've got friends that are truckies. They're getting half a kilometre to a litre. You imagine the cost of fuel, you know, at $1.30, $1.40. When they get away from their depot, they're paying up to $1.80 a litre. That's why things cost so much. You take all that out, it's all got to come down. And the cost of power, put it back under the control of us, where there's not a profit margin has to be made, because we don't need that tax. We don't have to pay greedy, thieving politicians and all the bludgers, hangers on. We need to change the whole system so that we, the people who are going to put forward all this stuff and vote on it, which is all of us, have an income we can earn ourselves from our own hands. We don't need to earn millions. We need enough to buy a house we can live in, provide for our family, and live a normal life without going overboard. We can travel. It's not much to travel. No, I've got to go back a little bit to when I was 24. We were paying 45 cents a gallon for fuel, and we thought that was shocking. Now we're paying $1.49.9 here in Geraldton for it. It drops up and down 10, 15 cents now and again. But the big problem is, as people are saying, we've got to educate people. We've got to get it out there, and we can do it. And you can do it word of mouth, like the young bloke with the beard said. I've seen some of his stuff and how he talks on the street, in the face of the people. Here it is. Honesty, it's in front of you. I'm not lying to you. When you talk straight up to people, they see, oh, you're not out there. You got to look them in the face, because people, if you're looking up like this, people are thinking, what the hell is he looking at? If not, he's reading from a script. That's what I find appalling of all the politicians. They got writing, and I bring it up all the time and attack them, because you fools are reading from a script. I don't. I read out of my head. If I can't understand what I'm about to say or remember what I'm going to say, get the hell off the computer. You've got no right to talk to people or make videos. All of us are capable of a level of understanding, a level of knowledge. I got a good memory. I can't help that. I was born that way, and sometimes it's not a good thing. When you think of the things I've seen, I keep remembering. But using the ability I got to study what I want and put it there for the people. Because when you get as old as me, you really don't need a lot. I've got the best woman around, and I'm not going to argue with anybody else. That's it. I've got someone who I wants to be with me for me. So that is good. We all need to be satisfied with the things we need to live a decent life in this country, and make sure through our own efforts we can give everybody that decent life. We need that, because as soon as you got that, you got happy people. They're not going to want to steal off someone. They think, oh, well, I can go to work for a couple of days and then I can earn the money to buy what I want, or a couple of weeks or whatever. If we get to a stage where everybody is living a decent life, and we can do that in this country because the potential's there, we can grow our own vegetables and do the things I like doing it. My wife has got bushes coming out of her ears. She grows all these vegetables and stuff. I'd probably kill them all if I got to it, but we can live that way. We can put everything we got into the people of this country, and we're capable of through the system. So let's have a good go.
Yeah. Wayne, a lot of people wouldn't remember, but this was all set in place many years ago, as you know, where there was talked about living wage, and then they turned it into superannuation and national superannuation, and then they taxed it. It's just another cash cow for them. But I just wanted to mention, we're talking about growing your own vegetables and things like that. People have been mentioning Tellinger's idea of the small community, small towns, I think it's called. We don't need that. A lot of people say, let's go off the grid. We don't need that either. We own the grid. So what we're doing with the QMS, we won't need any of that. Bringing Michael Tellinger on board might be a good idea, but the point is that he's doing what he's doing because of the corruption and because of the centralisation of our food, our power, everything. And so we don't need that. what we need is to get control back so that this will never happen again. We can make changes that, you know, we're all knowledgeable enough now to make the changes that we need to make so this can never happen again. And, you know, that's what's going to happen. So there won't be any need to go off the grid unless you want to. There won't be any need to grow your own vegetables unless you want to. But what we want to bring back is education system is to teach kids how to live, not how to go to the supermarket, not how to go to the local, you know, big box store, brown box store, they call it. We want to teach them how to live, how to save money, how to create wealth, and how to live their life in relative comfort rather than existence. So in other words, they will go to work because, you know, they want to earn some money, not because they have to go to work, because if they don't earn any money, they're living in the street. So all these things come into the QMS by giving people the control. Our commonwealth in this country, we are one of the wealthiest countries in the world. But the thing is, our wealth has been hidden from us. It's been hired out, if you like, or leased out to the lowest common denominator. We need to get all that back, and that won't be difficult. It's because it's all been done unlawfully. So to recreate, if you like, the Commonwealth, we're going to take the Commonwealth of Australia, and the people out from underneath the corporation and sit them on a fantastically secure, encrypted, real-time input platform, and then build the best systems that we can possibly build.
And that's where I think like a Michael Tellinger or Ubuntu or whatever different system, all these different systems, the beauty of if they come across and they participate and want to be a part of this whole QMS system is they then use all the people that are following them to come up with an idea or a term of reference to put out to the people and say, this is what we want in our communities. And then we shape the communities the way we need them to be shaped based on what the people want. So that's why I think everyone can get involved.
Yeah, and the systems will be, you know, the best possible health system, the best possible education system. You know, we want to bring back someone just said swap and trade vegetables. You know, when I was a kid growing up in the 50s and 60s, every house had a vegetable garden. And at the weekends, the neighbours would all, you know, if someone had a good crop of tomatoes, they'd swap that for onions. And, you know, I'm not saying that we all should have to do that. But the thing is that we want to teach the kids at school they can grow their own food. You know, there's a lot of people around at the moment that are teaching people how to grow food. Fantastic. But you know what? That should be done at a school level. That's what they go to school for. They go to school to be educated so that they can live their life, you know, earn an income, buy a house. All the things that used to be the great Australian dream, that can all be ours again. We can be the lucky country again. It just needs the people. We just need the people to start to think about what's the best Australia I can even imagine.
Absolutely.
And then come and tell us what it is.
Now, next stage is we're getting towards the end of the meeting. So if anybody's got any questions they'd like to put forth at the moment and ask on the group, any one of us can answer. Would you pop your hand up? I think in Zoom you can put your hand up, and you should see here. We'll unmute.
When's dinner?
Just
Who said that?
Jamie's
Who said that?
up, so I'll just.
Me. Well, it's still dinner time here. It's not quite 7 o'clock. You blokes are getting on.
I had a dim sim.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Jamie. I just want to say, just have a moment. I feel such a great vibe with everyone here tonight talking. It really feels very heartfelt, and I've been on a few Zooms before with different sort of committees, and it seems a bit of a ramble and it seems all over the shop. But tonight it just seems really on, and I'm just feeling something really positive about the whole thing. I think it's we're at a time now in our world where it's really ripe for a new beginning, because what I'm seeing is the old world is dying, and I think it's very easy to just do everything different to what we've been seeing. You know, it's not hard just to replace what's been done, because I think now we've learned exactly what not to do. And I think what we're getting right now with this pandemic and all this stuff, it just seems so blatantly absolute bullshit. And if you can't see that, then you're lost. And I think the people who can see deception are going to be the ones who are going to be jumping on board, like literally just, it's got to be incredible. It's got to go like hotcakes. I've got a really good vibe about the whole thing. But anyway, I don't want to keep up too much time with other people who've got some other questions. So yeah, I'm on board. I do a podcast, and I'd love to have some of you guys get in contact with me and yeah, just spread the word. But I definitely think an internet radio would be good. And then and even the kids at school to design a flag themselves, maybe get the flag going soon as. So we've got something like a reference point. Flag's a great start. It's a symbol, it's an icon. But anyway, that's just an idea. But look, I think the steering committee I heard about, I'd love to be a part of it, or at least on the Brains Trust, at least. I always saw myself as some sort of Brains Trust and around Surf.
Absolutely. And look,
Thanks, Jamie.
Jamie, please feel free to drop your number in the chat.
Yeah.
Send it direct to me.
Yeah,
I'll record it and we'll give you a call tomorrow.
Happy days, love it.
We will have a volunteers form on the site very soon. So there'll be a button up shortly within the next few days where you'll be able to hit the button. And if you want to volunteer to do anything within there, you'll be able to offer up your expertise and contact details so that we can get in contact with you and get you to do some work with us. We do want to get some pamphlets dropped out. We do want people to speak on our behalf wherever they can go. We've talked about doing shopping centre tours, getting out there in networking groups and amongst unions and businesses and talking to them. It is something we can go completely public with. We'd love for the whole movement, the truth movement, to pick it up and run with it. But of course, as I mentioned before, there is some suspicion and distrust in there, and we understand that. But look,
the problem is, Graham, that we taught everyone to be so suspicious of what they were told. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And now we've got to convince them that this is this is the answer, not another distraction.
Look, currently no one's got backdoor keys to the system except for me, Graham and Karen, and nobody can mess with your details or information. It's not going to be shared anywhere. We're not trying to profit on it or anything like that. You won't get emails from other places where we've sold the database. That's not how we do business. It's not how we do things.
Hey, Graham, just on that, because you just touched on it. I think someone named Nick did ask earlier, do we have checks and balances in place to make sure that people's information isn't getting shared out there? Because we know, obviously, with Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest, data is like the new oil. Everyone wants to steal everyone's data, wants to know all their tracking and stuff. I know the blockchain's got a bit to do with that. I'm not too technical with all that stuff, but I just thought I'd bring it up before we finish. Okay, on the website as a member at the moment, as I mentioned before, there's 3 people have access to that information. But honestly, we have no interest, desire, or I trust the other 2 people working with me, and I hope they trust me on that aspect of it. But we're there at the moment to admin and manage things and to get it running. Eventually all of that will be taken over by a public service, and the website itself will fade off once the blockchain aspect of it is up and running. So the website will completely eventually be redesigned and become the blockchain. This is, at the moment, as I say, it's about getting the concept out there. It's about building the awareness and the membership and getting the numbers up so that we can present a demographic where we're saying, hey, look, we're ready to go. The one thing you don't want to do is take a system down and have nothing ready to replace it, because if you do that, you know,
asking for trouble.
Exactly. And someone else will step in and fill that role. If you knock something out, something else steps in. So we get our system up, we get the will of the people behind it, we make it work, we test it, we make sure that the people are speaking in it and engaging with it. They're the important factors at the moment. And then as it grows and people come on board and we get to that specific point, and that's as quick as every one of us. If each and every one of us today went out and managed to get 5 friends who managed to get their 5 friends who got their 5 friends and got their 5 friends, all of a sudden we're there. And I think, I don't know how many steps it is, but it'd be less than 10 steps away from getting there with that type of arrangement. Because when you do multiples of numbers like that and you start to work it out, they grow quite exponentially. And so, yeah, it'll be very quick growth once that starts to happen. Awareness is the key thing. As people become aware that there is a way to step out of the current system, we hope they'll join. And that's where we're at. We're putting that forward, we're putting that out there. And
yeah, hand on heart, I hope you guys all become members if you're not already, and I hope you invite your friends and family, and that we can build this system and turn it into something really worthwhile. Because
just quickly, Graham, someone asked the question, you know, if we get the people, how quickly can we do this? The answer to that is tomorrow. But the other answer is we're looking at 3 to 6 months to get this organised, because we've got a few more people to speak to. We're speaking to people about the blockchain. We're speaking to lots of people about decentralization, about all different sorts of things. But we need now input from the people. So the quicker that you people that are watching here tonight can get out there and get 5 friends, the quicker we can make this happen. So we're ready to go, but we need those people before we can offer the alternative.
if you're using the website, that brings people into engagement within the site. Will bring more people in. If they see people using it, it becomes something that they want to use. So we've got 2 social media areas. We've got the one where we've got the forum, and we've got the news feed. The news feed is a public one. The forum is a private one for members only. So we hope that people will talk about policies and things like that on both. But if you want to share private bits and pieces, I'd suggest you probably keep that amongst members and that sort of thing at the moment, just to stay safe. Now, Penny wanted to say something, and then after her, I'm going to bring Jane in, because Jane wants to say something as well. So Penny, would you like to go ahead?
So just Magic Barclay, is it?
Yes,
and I are ready to start the health team. So anyone that's interested to get involved in some meetings as far as, you know, facilitating some balanced, healthy health system that we want, the people want, that the government are not going to, you know, take money from the big pharma. Like I just wrote in the thing then, let's just make it little pharma and, you know, holistic natural health.
Little pharma.
As part of the Medicare system that we can benefit from, rather than them benefiting from. So if anyone's interested to come in to facilitate those meetings and get some things going, we really should get started with this. We haven't done anything yet. So Magic was just talking to me tonight, and she's ready, her and I, to get going. So Karen, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I put loads of stuff out. I've put the agenda out. I've put the places available out, and no one really comes forward. So
yeah,
no, Penny, if you want to get that rolling,
and I've done it for other stuff, and I'm just not getting anyone. And we
do have enough members in the group though now to start the process. So if you want to get the ball rolling within the forum, you could do that, because there's enough members in there.
Okay. And everyone that's on the group call tonight, you should remember that we want your input. If you've got an idea about health or education or, you know, aged care or something like that, we want to hear about it, because, you know, you may not think that you have the experience or the skill set, but you may have a fantastic idea that we can run with. So don't be shy. We want to hear, even if you think it's there's no way that we're ever going to have this. It just may be that we will. So please contribute everything and anything. It's the forums there. The panels have been set up there. You can log into any one of them and leave a comment. We want to hear from you. Don't be shy.
Jane,
well, sorry, Graham.
Just quick.
As a nutritionist, that I used to own a raw food cafe, and it was right out front of a medical center, right? So I fought big pharma daily. Half the doctors hated me, 2 of them loved me. Like, they wouldn't even let me give their patients a healthy flu juice, an organic juice that would help them, you know? They'd come in and tell me not to give it to their patients. So
well,
I know what
a healthy patient is a lost customer, Penny. You know that.
Exactly. They need to make money.
And then they come in and grab them and go, you haven't had your flu shot, you know? So take the drink out their hand and put it on the table away from them.
Typical.
But we all know that doctors don't learn nutrition when they go to medical school anyway.
5% of
big
them
pharma.
So yeah, anyone, nutritionists, holistic health, you know, Reiki masters, whatever you are, just please get in contact and let's have a meeting.
Can I just ask, I know we're talking a lot about decentralization and blockchain and that sort of thing. Is there any possibility down the road that QMS will look to introduce possibly their own coin going forward down the road in some?
Yeah, we mentioned that.
It won't be our coin.
Not a crypto as such, but look, and that really depends on the will of the people. It's been discussed, yes, and it is something that we've talked about. But as far as the QMS is concerned, we're not a political party. We're just building a tool. So at the end of the day, it will be up to the will of the people. If the people want to create a new coin, if they want to stick with the current system, whichever way they go will be what the decision is.
And just so that the call, I don't know who was that. Who said that?
Oh, that was
Craig. Timothy.
Oh, Craig. What the QMS could actually build a coin of the realm, if you like, on the platform. We've already spoken to a few people about things like that, but the only coin would be Commonwealth asset backed. As Wayne mentioned before, there is a change in the system happening already, and that might turn out to be, I don't know. It might turn out to be a guide, if you like, as to what we won't be doing.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, Jane. I've been trying to get Jane in here for a minute, so just hold on for a tick, Wayne. We'll let Jane have the next bit, and then I'll come back to you, mate. Sorry, Jane. Go ahead.
I just want to say thank you very much for this evening. Am I unmuted? Yeah. Okay. I really just wanted to touch on the fact that so many people, the majority of people I would probably guess at, are suffering in some level of trauma at the moment. So to be very mindful when trying to being enthusiastic and trying to bring people into such a movement that is so new and so very contrary to what most people in the country are believing is even possible. And I think, we're seeing such a level of dissociation, so many people just not being able to grasp what is actually happening at the moment. They're going along with the narrative, they're rolling with it, they're accepting what they're being told, and they're not capable of grasping something as our reality is. We know what it is, but many people are just not cognitively able to grasp onto it right now. So we may be coming up against a lot of conflict situations in people's systems because they're really not even able to start that shift in their thinking and start to accept that the world is a very different place to what they think they're living in. I'm a trauma therapist. I work in trauma recovery with in domestic violence, and we have seen an unprecedented amount of gaslighting. I've worked with gaslighting victims for many, many years, and gaslighting is what people are experiencing right now. And it's completely destabilizing. So I just wanted to make it to just raise the awareness, to be gentle and be very accepting and aware of people's emotional state when talking to people who may not be on our page.
Jane, it's just Matt here.
Hey.
I think your point is amazing because I've gone out on the road and done all kinds of things. I went out with a little speaker and sat and put it in the middle of an oval and had it playing stories of what's happening in lockdown. And when I put it out there and said, I just wish people would take off their masks and blah, 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 people were trauma-based and they got angry. I had a person kick my speaker. I had a person turn it off. As soon as I flicked it around, and I mentioned this earlier, to finding common ground. So these lockdowns are really affecting us. They're really hard. Do you feel like you're in an abusive relationship with your government at the moment because they're bringing you in and out of lockdown and telling you who you can and can't see? When I gave them that information and walked away, it worked much better. And I think what you're saying and what I've picked up on, if someone's been through a narcissistic type relationship, they recognize what's going on. And when you try and bring someone out of that type of relationship, you can say it till you're black and blue in the face and they won't listen. But if you give them a little bit of information and say, take this and have a read, and they can do it in their own time. I don't know if this sits with your teachings, but if they can do it in their own time, they tend to do it in a much better way. So I think what you're saying spot on. I've tried every way possible. We went with a megaphone out our car window. And when we were saying, take off your mask, people were looking at us angrily. When we said, smile, show us your beautiful smile, they gave us a different type of personality. So we have to be very mindful of that and try and find that common ground really early on. So I totally 100% agree. I actually would love to have you on one of my Instagram lives one night, because I've got a lot of followers who are stuck in trauma and they need help right now. So I'd love to have you on one night.
Oh, for sure. Anytime.
I've got to go, guys. I've actually got to go do the Instagram now. I love you all, and I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks,
mate.
Appreciate you being in, mate. Now, Ian Cook had a question before, I think, as well. So, Ian, did you want to quickly bring that in?
Oh, did I? I mean, I sent something to Karen, but you know, I think I'm here tonight listening intently, and I've been making a few notes. I'm working with Karen to create some video material for this group, and you know, I'd also love some input from others. I guess you know, because it's like you said, Graham, it's not about you or me, or you know, it's about the people for the people, and how do we message this out there? I think, you know, Penny was talking before about, you know, what she's doing on Stand in the Park, and how she's managing to message out before, and then Jane is sort of talking about, you know, so what do we ask the people? What material can you guys help me create as much as anything? Is this okay, Graham?
Yeah, of course, mate. Of course.
What material can you help me to create, or me and hopefully a bit of a team coming together in terms of visual, video, or audio, you know? And Karen is very involved with. Karen is involved with many things. So I'd really love to get some feedback on that, because I'm still learning.
Well,
I didn't even know about common law till 6 months ago. So, you know, it's all a bit of a crash course. And also, I'm actually interested. Would there still be common law assemblies in and around this?
Well, the proposal is to return to the Constitution and a base of common law, being English common law, that is basically do the right thing by people, and you know, don't cause no harm. But again, whatever comes out, whatever policies are determined, have to be the will of the people. So I can't really comment on policy at this point in time beyond it is what we want it to be, and it will be what we want it to be. So, I mean, like, we could go out and make a whole heap of promises. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to build a tool to give everyone here and everyone in Australia a voice to be able to build the best country we can build. So that is what we're doing, what we're working on. Graham mentioned earlier that we do have it, and we're very close to it. We are actually very close. There's a number of people we've negotiated with that have offered money and they want a financial return, which we've rejected. We're currently talking to one at the moment that's built pretty much what we're looking at. So we've got to explore that a bit further, and make sure that it is everything that we want and need it to be, because it has to be secure for the people. And if it's not going to be secure, it'll get rejected like everything else. So everything has to be done the right way in this. And what we're finding is there's alignment. Everything we need comes at the right time. So look, I wouldn't be doing it if I really didn't feel this wasn't my sole purpose in life. And I genuinely and honestly do believe that is the case, was to bring it forth. What happens with it from here is up to every single one of you. It's up to you what you want it to become and what you want it to be. I want you to take it out of my hands and turn it into the system that it needs to become, which is of the people, for the people, and by the people. So that is what the whole concept is, what the whole process is. To me, it's a very simple process and concept. To someone like Wayne and Graham, who have both independently told me that this is what the original Constitution, 1900 Constitution, would have evolved into, given the technology of the 70s and 80s, had it not been stolen by those bastards. Sorry, Wayne, using your words there.
That's describing them who they are.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah, Wayne uses a few more superlatives than bastards, though. I can tell you that. Yeah. But listen, can I just jump? Can I just put something in there too, Graham? Who was just speaking? Sorry, my phone's blown up. Who was just
Ian Cook? Was
Ian. A lot of the things that people are doing at the moment, like setting up common law courts and, assemblies and things like that won't be necessary when the QMS is activated, because it'll be a lawful system. It'll be constitutionally lawful. It'll be common law lawful, and it will recognise inalienable rights of people. So we won't have to go off the grid anymore. We won't have to, pull our heads in or hide or anything like that, because the system will be of the people. So I suppose it's important for people to understand what common law is, but and also obviously we want to get constitutional knowledge into people's heads as well. But right now, the thing to remember is that, once the QMS comes in, all this shit that's going on at the moment stops. It's as simple as that. So there's no need to rebel. There's no need to have a revolution or anything like that, because the corporations will be nullified.
What I was going to say about the money, the new money system, if that comes in, with it comes back our constitution. It would be very easy then, because a lot of politicians are going in the bin. Yeah. We would be easy to bring in our system and just say, well, right, this will make sure they won't do what they've done before, because that's all part of that system where they're bringing the equal currency across the world, all asset backed, and they're going to bring each country back under their original constitution. So with what you're proposing, if we put that in place and say, well, this is going to cement it in where those traders that have been ripping us off cannot step back in and take it over. So it's a good opportunity, and that could happen sometime in the next 6 to 8 weeks. It's that close where they're trying to push the one world government and this new monetary system. The new monetary system will benefit us, and with the quantum management, you can step right in and say, well, now we can take the crooked part out of it, and it'll have to be by referendum, but it's an easy time to step in and put it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
I just on that as well, I think there's one word that I think 99% of Australians would agree to, and that's the word trust.
Yeah.
Do you trust your government? Do you trust your politicians? I mean, but that would resonate with 99% of Australians. Very few people in Australia, and I think they're in that. Something I'd like to sort of, because it's a way of gently asking people. If you're trying to get a message across, well, this is a whole new system. Well, do you trust your government? Do you trust your politicians? Do you trust that they're going to do the right thing? And what if there was something new and different that'll blow your mind?
Sorry, I think we've got Lynn wants to say something there as well. Go for it, Lynn.
Okay. I've only just come into this fairly recently. I've been following some of Graham's, live streams and things, and just come into it. I have joined the QMS and I am on the app and whatever. Now I'm one of those people that I'm not a born here Australian. I wasn't born here. I was transplanted here at the tender age of 12 by UK parents that came out to Australia, the land of milk and honey, as it was, marketed to them, better for your children and everything else. I've never been back to the UK since I came here. I'm now 68 years old. I consider myself an Australian. I'm married an Australian. I've got Australian children. But from what I got from, and I didn't get onto this Zoom until late because I had trouble getting in. So you may have covered it in that first bit of time, but I'm not sure.
It is an area that we're well aware of. And it's one, as I've said, even when I wrote the document, it didn't sit very well with me at the time. But what we're trying to do is ensure that another country, without naming countries, but potentially a communist country could manipulate the system through.
Yeah, I understand all that.
So we're looking at ways that we can address that issue, because you can't really point at one particular nation and say that that's the case, because that borderlines racism, and we're trying. It's a really delicate topic to sort of try to discuss. But the reason we've stuck with sovereignty, Karen wants to jump in at the moment too, so I'll let let Karen explain a little bit. Karen's also UK born, just for everyone's information, so I'll let her tell the story.
I'm like you. I came on my parents' passport, and I had
Yeah.
no say in where we were going or what we were doing, and never had any contact with my family ever again from that point onwards. So I understand that. I am starting up a discussion group, and I've already got a few people on board to discuss this particular matter and see if we can reword that part of the proposal and come from a different perspective, because it does alienate a lot of people instantly. Alienated me, and that's why I've taken that on board, as to get a group discussion from the perspective of that particular subject. So if you'd like to provide your email address.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that, and I understand all behind it. That's not where I was going with it. Where I was going with it is, I know I've got a lot of people in my circle that are in a similar situation to me. They weren't Australian born, and the way that I may be understanding it wrong, I'm not sure, but the way that I'm understanding it is to get this off the ground. I understand the reasoning behind what you're doing and why you've got to have born Australian people that were born here. And my children were born here, so they'll come on board. That's not a problem. But I've also got other friends that weren't born here, and what I'm coming up against is, well, how can I get involved at the moment, and what's going to be my role if I can't actually have a say in the QMS from the beginning?
Absolutely. Look, this country was built by immigrants across the board all the way through. It's people coming to this country.
My question was going to be, how do I get past that? Like,
How do you get, okay.
As I said, Karen, I felt a bit alienated at first when I first heard it, but I've got past that now, and I can see the bigger picture. But a lot of these other people that I'm speaking to, they can't see that, and they want to sit back and wait until it's all up and running and see how it goes before they come in, because they can't have a say from the beginning. So
They
how
do
do I get past that?
They do get a say from the beginning. They can propose, they can still be experts within their fields, and they can then wait to policy along the initial stages. It's the voting process at the end, the final stage, that I've suggested that we withhold that to the Australian born for the time being. But the idea is we are rewriting that part of the document. We wish to have a better clause in there, because I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want to take anything away from anyone in Australia who's come here through whatever means. We don't care what your background is, what your history is. If you live in our country, you're Australian, and that's the way the country should operate. We just had to make
something there.
Yeah,
go on.
As I explained to Karen on your email, I don't know if you got it. When you come from the British Empire, you emigrate. You immigrate from the others. As soon as you come here, when you come here lawfully with your parents, you become part of this country as they do. This nonsense in the Immigration Act that was passed, the modifications were passed in 1973 and allegedly backdated to 1948, which is a lie. You can't do it, which invalidates the whole act. If you go back to the original act, even people who are born here are born naturalised British subjects. When you come from England here, you are naturalised British subject. After 5 years, you can sit in Parliament, vote, and join this group. You can, because it's there in our law. What we are actually fighting is total disobedience to the Constitution. The concept is, when you come here, Lynn, you came here with your parents, you were naturalised. As soon as they decided to stay, after 5 years, you're a resident here. You are part of this country. So are your kids. And it doesn't matter what lies some politician says for their own gain, which is what they did, kick people out of Parliament. And I explained on a video the other day, the Sue versus Hill decision was an absolute fraud and act of treason by the High Court. And the reasons why, because they can't make that decision. Under Clause 8 of the Constitution, we're a self-governing colony of England. Under Clause 6, New Zealand is part of this country, part of New South Wales, and actually has a seat on the New South Wales Parliament. So these things have to come out. The truth has to come out, and people have to accept you're born here, or you have lived the majority of your life here, more than 5 years, you are here. You are an Australian. That song you know, we're young, we come from every nation in the world. We do, which makes us a unique nation.
Absolutely.
Of intelligent, hardworking, decent people. We need to boot the idiot parliament out who are lying, and they're only doing it because divided we fall. And it's order out of chaos. And someone said earlier about the Freemasonry, we can outlaw that because every oath they take is an unlawful oath under Section 44 of the Constitution.
Yeah, I
can do that.
I've sort of followed a fair bit of the Constitution, and I've not really got that involved in politics, but I do know a bit about it because I have followed the money for quite some years. And I'm aware from when we got tied up with the bloody Lima Agreement with the UN and Gough Whitlam and all that crap. So I do understand a fair bit of it. And that's why I understand where you're all coming from. But what I'm getting at is I'm just getting this bit of a pushback at the moment from these people that I'm trying to bring in that weren't actually born here, and they're feeling, well, if I can't have a vote, well, what's the point?
Yeah, no, we get it. Karen, would you like to talk a little bit more on that? Because Karen is working towards developing the solution.
I am working towards it. I'm working with First Nations people, and I'm working on the immigration thing, because if you can see the sign behind Tim Dwyer there, it says, "I am one, we are one." Yeah. And I believe before we step 1 foot forward, that's what we have to be. We have to link up. All of us link arms and say, right, we're in this together and we're all moving forward together. And where we've got those really inconsistencies, we need to tidy up those inconsistencies and make sure our arms are linked and we're moving forward as one.
Amen.
So you're working with other immigrants at the moment, Karen.
Yeah,
I need to give you my email and get involved with you.
Anyone else who wants to link up with that discussion, and I'm also having First Nations discussions as well, so that we're linked up together as one.
All inquiries can come in through info@theqms.org.
Yeah.
I'll pop that up in the chat in a second. So if anyone's got anything they want to email through to us, please send them through. And look, please understand we're doing a lot of work. We've got a lot of people contacting us, so it may take us a little while to get back, but we will get back to you at some point as soon as we can.
The thing to take away from that is that we are very aware of people's input, and we want to hear from people. So setting up, like Karen's doing, setting up discussion groups so that we get it right the first time, so that there's no confusion. But we do have to be very aware of our national security in terms of what the governments have brought in under so-called migration and so-called refugee intakes. So that's the sticky point, because we don't want infiltration by people who are sent here by their own country to infiltrate here and run amok.
Yeah, well, they could determine policy if there was enough of them there, and we don't.
And that's So we're working on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, other countries will have a similar system, so that may not be such
Lots
a
of other countries. Lots of other countries are interested in the system already, but they're going to have the same issues because, we tagged it the UN immigration invasion when they started shifting, people all around the globe to move them out of resource-rich countries and move them into countries where they could spread as they say, spread out the wealth. So. But what they were really doing was corralling people in different countries so they could get the resources of other countries. So, but look, there's a minefield of stories behind that. But we are very aware that we have to have our national security in the back of our minds all the way through the QMS development.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what the Biden administration are doing with their southern border at the moment. They're flooding the country with all these people.
Yeah.
Because they want the numbers.
Yeah. Yep.
Graham, Jeffs, if I may just clarify something here in my own mind, and it might help some of the others. And Wayne, you mentioned this. There's a difference between emigration and immigration.
That's correct.
Now, Lynn, you've emigrated, so therefore you are already Australian.
Correct.
There are nations out there that are communist, socialist, that have other legal structures that are not in the best interest of a free and democratic society.
Immigrants.
And
yeah.
they have immigrated.
Correct.
And so therefore, a lot of, I'm trying to clear this in my mind, so I'm probably just talking out loud. So therefore, if those people were not born on the soil, then they would have to go through a vetting process or something to be able to get into the voting process.
That's correct. That's naturalisation.
Yes. So therefore, we see there may be people who've lived here 20, 25, 30 years who have immigrated, but they are not born on the soil. Now, in the beginning, it might sound racist. However, if you had a house full of gold and precious jewels, would you throw open the door to people you don't know and invite them into your house?
That's a very good
no.
Where do you live?
Yeah, where do you live? You got a house full of gold. What's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
So we don't want to invite people who we don't really know.
Correct. Yeah.
Into our house to undermine, to pull the foundations out from under us. You know, but if you've emigrated, good to go. Immigration, we got to work our way through that.
Yeah.
Well, I was just listed on documents of entry. I've got mum and dad's documents of entry, which has just got mum and dad's photos on it, and then just has 4 kids listed underneath it. There was no passports or anything.
No, that's right. Well, there was no need for it because
no need for it. It was a British Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Look, at the end
and my dad was a real stick in the mud, and he would not get naturalized here when they changed the rules. He said they could all go get stuffed because this was a British colony and he was part of it, and he shouldn't have to get naturalized to be here.
Good on him.
And he wouldn't do it, but I did because I wanted a passport.
So there's something I need to say. Where there's immigration, and there's aliens.
Yes.
What Tim was talking about is aliens. They need to be fully vetted.
Yeah.
And you look at the Constitution, it's divided aliens first, then immigration and immigration. Doesn't matter, Lynn, what your dad did. You were here more than 5 years. You get to make up your mind. If he wanted to say, bugger this, I want to go back to England, bye-bye. That's okay.
Oh no, Dad never went back to England either. He had so many opportunities, and his brothers wanted him to go and visit, and he said, "No, bugger off. If you want to see me, you come here. I've seen all I want over there."
Sounds fair.
You come here.
All right. Well, listen, we've gone a little bit over what we originally intended, but I do want to say thank you to everyone for coming in. All the great input. Thanks, Wayne, Graham, Tim, Penny, Karen. Everyone who's had some input. Hakara was there earlier, put some stuff in. Ian, thank you, everybody. It can't happen without all of us. And I mean, look, I think there's 70 odd people in the group. I can't say thank you to every one of you individually, but believe me, thank you. I really appreciate you coming and being part of this, because it's only in unity that we can conquer this, that we'll win.
And Graham, just remember that everyone, if they have people that is humming and hawing, there's another meeting on next Saturday at 7 p.m. Melbourne time. So get them in on that one, and come in again yourself if you wish, because we want, if you've got questions, we'll try and answer as many as we can. But like Graham said, we can't do this without you. So I'd like to thank everyone too, and thank you, big fella, Graham. You've done an excellent job. And Wayne, you can go and have your dinner now.
Thanks very much. The missus just gone to get it. Oh, we were right.
And look, if you want to approach Graham, myself, Penny, Karen, and you've got any direct questions, we're happy to take them. We'll help if we can. If we, as I said, it may take a little while for us to get back to you, just because there is a bit of volume coming in. But again, no question will go unanswered. We will try and answer everything. Thank you.
Karen, I'll contact you on the app.
Thank you. Thank you. And yeah,
I'll
if you're
try
not
and
already
make it
join us at the QMS.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to try and make it next week after the meeting. I've got a lecture. If it finishes in time, I'll
Yep.
be in it too. So you'll have all the people from there locked in as well.
Fantastic, thank you. I better expand the meeting then and pay for the 1,000 seats.
And for those who had trouble getting in, we'll work on that next week. It's just that it's difficult because we don't have a lot of people. But next week, I think we'll nominate. Can you nominate a couple more co-hosts, Graham?
I was trying to do that earlier. I was having a lot of problems. I'll be on the phone with Zoom this week working out.
All right, learn how to do that so that we can get more people, letting people in.
Yeah,
all right.
no, it'd be better.
Excellent.
Sort of doing it at the same time.
Great to meet you all. Look forward to
Yeah,
working with all of you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
Nice to meet you, Graham.
Thanks,
Nice
guys.
to meet you. Thanks.
God bless everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Wayne.
Karen, just before you go, do we get a copy of the questions in the chat?
Yeah, we can organise that for you, mate.
No, because I just said there's a few questions there that they were coming in like really thick and fast towards the end there. We didn't get a lot of them answered.
Okay,
So
all right. I'll grab them.
just so-
We'll get them for next
You
week.
just
Yeah.
click save chat.
Yep.
thank you, Penny.
All right.
Yeah, so
Get a
everyone,
copy
yeah,
of this recording as well in some capacity.
yeah, we
We will put a recording out on this one, I think. So
Yeah.
I'll make sure it's out. I'll put it up on, because I'm still in Facebook jail, so I'll put it up on the QMS website and it can be shared from there.
And you can share to external like Facebook and that.
Yeah, you can.
but haven't we also got a YouTube?
Yes, it'll go up in there as well.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, I'm going now. It's past my bedtime. Look at this,
All right.
25 past 9 and I'm still up.
Me too. I want to go do with my
Bye.
whales
See you
flash.
guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.